Have you ever wondered why you rarely see Indian weddings featured in mainstream media? Or have you ever thought that maybe wedding planners also have approached other people and said that Indian weddings are just too much and can be very overwhelming for non-Indians? Well, I have, and I've experienced it firsthand. Hey guys, and welcome back to this episode of the South Asian Wedding Guru, where I am your host, Amy Rigetti. And today we are going to talk about why it is that Indian weddings are not necessarily posted on sources that are not Indian, South Asian specific. If you ladies are out there and you are planning your wedding, you know this for facts because you know that you have tried to find resources. Some of them are super outdated, super traditional, not up with the times, and very few exist that show more of the higher end stuff rather than the normal medium range Indian wedding that takes place today, let alone the small, intimate affairs that many Indian fused weddings are having because they just don't want the big wedding. There's not a lot of inspiration for those. So today I'm going to talk about actual situations that I've had where I have been told, approached, and given reasons why it is that you will not see these on some popular non-Indian blogs, and how it is that we've decided that we are going to adapt in order to see ourselves posted on some of our most beloved blogs and resources for wedding planning. You know, it's unfortunate because the representation that this does within the industry is impactful. You know, we have had planners in which I have talked to, and I have, because when we first started doing weddings, we were not predominantly South Asian or fusion events. We did any wedding that came to us and needed a photographer, we were on board. But as we started shooting more and more, and I would look at our work, I would be like, oh my gosh, we really nail these weddings, like every single wedding that we've shot. And then sometimes I just feel like, well, I don't relate to this bride. So it very quickly changed to, our clients interviewing us as much as I am interviewing them, because I want to know that I'm doing them justice, that I'm the right fit for their wedding day. Because if they're not looking for something that levels up with who we are, who am I to just book their wedding because they're willing to cut me a check and a contract? I think that I've learned throughout the years that this is just not the way that I want to do business. If I wanted to have 20, 30, 40 photographers working under us and have this big gain of success in terms of monetary value, I would have done it by now. We used to be 11 strong in our group of photographers, and we used to be husband and wife based with associate shooters. Very quickly learned that a lot of people really just wanted the Rigettis, and to put our shooters in a position where they were being critiqued when their work was awesome just because people had buyer's remorse and wanted the Rigettis broke my heart. So we scaled back. We have associates that shoot with us to assist in things that we need a little bit more help on throughout our days, but we cover all of our events for that very same reason. Having had a planner come up to me and just be like, Amy, have you ever thought of maybe having two separate sites, one for like non-Indians and one for Indians? Because when we send our non-Indians to your site, it's very intimidating, the bold colors, and it's just a lot. And I said, well, that's Indian weddings for you. That is the natural color that is in their weddings, and we have no shame about it. So we're not looking to push or enhance colors. We are simply looking to bring it exactly how it was. And I see how we've adapted to this market out there as our brides are seeing inspiration from many non-Indian resources. They're acclimating and they're toning stuff down a little bit on their own because they want to feel part of. And I find that, there have been celebrities in India that have kind of brought this muted, tamed. I always joke with Srinu that some of these colors are definitely muted and drawn back. They're not actual to what happened or was present on that day of. But this is an aesthetic that brides and grooms, I wouldn't say so much grooms, but definitely brides are looking into, especially if they are motivated by magazines or current blogs out there featuring weddings that are non-Indian. They're definitely bringing a stir to the market to create change and create a more, as I've said before, people are referring to it as a luxury wedding market where we're toning down those colors, but we're giving it more of a natural feel, less traditional, less posed. They want things more in the moment. Even though these things are not happening in the moment, they're looking for somebody who can bring that and help them get what it is that they're trying to bring across in their wedding images by really seeing who it is that they are and not all these pictures that they would never do. So we are loving it. I definitely have my heart in the way of colors because my girls spend a lot of time picking colors out in their dresses, especially moms who wear saris. They're like, that's not the color of my sari. That doesn't even look anything like what it looked like on that day of. So we have a lot of acclimating ourselves to do as we try to appease both the bride and groom along with parents who get upset about these situations. But these are just to name a few of the things that we're seeing impacting the market as we're moving further into a more balanced playing field. And yes, I can tell you, for the average American who's not very cultured, Indian weddings can be a little overwhelming for the non-Indian, especially if they are not educated and made aware of what they're walking into. As a photographer, I have heard way too many complaints about, oh, that light is directly in our eyes, from Indians and non-Indians the same. I've also heard the speakers are too loud. Can you ask the DJ to turn it down? And I'm like, okay, I don't know what more to say. I can tell you girls, as a tip and a bit of advice, just put some of those throwaway earplugs at your wedding for the people, non-Indian or Indian, who want to complain or just feel it's too bright. Pack some shades there. Put shades. For those of you sensitive, you could just put a little board up there that says, for those of you sensitive, here's because we care, and put a big old basket of like sunshades and put a big old basket of disposable earplugs so that you don't have to hear anybody complain, or, people don't cut out early because they're like, the music is just really too loud for us. That's probably the most that we hear in terms of this. Other than that, our non-Indians are like, this is so freaking amazing. Like, we are so excited that we got to be a part of this because we have never experienced anything like that. And it is those clients' weddings who are changing the world in which we live in, and we are even better for it as people. All I can say is that I do wholeheartedly believe that Indian weddings should see themselves in mainstream media. This means if you have a blog out there, which is soft and natural and, there's not much going on, it's not busy, then we need to call it like it is. We need to say whatever it is, whatever you're niching in, just call it, because the worst thing for me is when I get a bride and she's like, Amy, I have followed this blog for so long and I want my wedding featured on here because I don't see any Indian weddings featured on there. And then I reach out to that publication and they tell me, unfortunately, they don't want to oversaturate their blog with Indian wedding images that are not in line with their aesthetic. And I have to go back and I have to tell the bride this is so mortifying to me because I don't even know how to say that to someone. And I understand from the other side what they're trying to do and trying to accomplish, because Lord knows, even we have had to do this with making sure that our clients know that they can have the brightest, boldest colors possible, but that we actually also can do that luxe muted look too. It has nothing to do with the way that we're shooting our images, but the way that we're color grading and color correcting our images that is going to set that tone. So it's such a fine line, and I understand it, but a bride doesn't when she's kind of had her heart set on that and she thinks that no submissions are going into that publication or that blog on the side of Indian weddings, and that she thinks she's going to be the first. And I got to explain to her that nobody's going to be the first. That sucks. There's this hidden bias in the wedding industry, and I honestly and wholeheartedly believe that the only way that we create change on this is as the South Asian community. You guys are louder and prouder and bring it. And I see that with all these social media outlets such as Instagram, TikTok, and all that. It's getting bigger, bolder, and better as the years go on. Things that we weren't seeing before, or clients that were so super traditional that they would say, Amy, my family is like really big on the evil eye. Can you not post my images anywhere? We've seen a lot of that step back and come down as our brides really want to see their stuff featured and be proud to be who they are and share these pictures and inspire others just like them who are planning their own weddings. This is how we make that change. This is how we see a difference. And this is how we see people opening up these mainstreams and allowing for all diversity, all cultural aspects. I understand if you've got a wedding blog and it focuses on like bohemian style weddings. Okay, well, that makes sense. If you don't have a bohemian style wedding, then you just don't put it in there. But we have Indian weddings who also have that vibe to them, and they should be able to find that their wedding is featured in there, even though it's under a mandap, right? That's unique. That's different. Why wouldn't you want that featured? These are things that as we get louder, as we get prouder, as we get bolder and intrigue people's curiosity, curiosity, I think that we're going to see a big change in the way of what we're seeing featured where, when, and how. I think that it's really important that we have this conversation about the inclusivity of these weddings and what it does for our community. The simple fact that by showing this, even people who are not leaving the United States are leaving their area in which they've been born and raised, it cultures them a little and it allows them to know that things are happening in this big old place of a world that we all live in, even though we're not seeing it. I remember the first time that I did a Muslim wedding and, I was covering all the girl stuff and Srini was covering all the boy stuff. And then lunch came and we had to eat from different sides of the buffet. And then they actually didn't finally see each other till the marriage was over and we were all exiting. I thought that that was the most unique thing. And I thought, in America, this happens? Well, it does happen. Arranged marriages happen in America. You'd be surprised that all the things that happen in America that a lot of us Americans, whether we are Caucasian American or not, cannot believe would take place in America. And I am better for it because I feel like I am out of the closet at this point because I do understand that the world is not what I thought it was based on my parents' eyes. And that is a big difference. And that is what this is going to do when you put your weddings and your perspective and your thoughts and your stories into these publications. It allows people to relate. And if there are publications out there who do not put these more ethnic weddings in their stories and within their material, I encourage you guys to do it. Open it up. It may very well draw some more, attention to what it is that you're offering. It piques interest and it makes people relatable. So these are things, again, that I say, let's have a conversation. Let's start the conversation on these events. Let's share things that we can do to make it all inclusive, make it fair, and make it such a beautiful scape of what are weddings in America, because there's no one way to do a wedding here. There's no one way to do an Indian wedding. There's no one way to do a Christian wedding. There's not one way to do a non-denominational wedding. And I love seeing it all. I think I just get bored. And that's why we kind of niche, because no Indian wedding is the same. So even though you go in, there's no script that you can give that can be the same, because each family, each culture, each tradition of that particular state, even in India, do things so differently that it's always interesting. And the part that I love the most about it is that my husband's Indian. And when I'll ask him about something, he's like, Amy, I had no clue. And then I'm like, weren't you born and raised there? And he's like, weren't you born and raised here? And it just gets funny because it's so flippin' true. So tell me what you think. Do you think Indian weddings, South Asian weddings are being sidelined? I'd like to have this conversation in the comments. So make sure that you guys drop it for me. I am so curious what you guys have to say. And until the next episode, I hope that you guys go out there, you figure out the process to find a publication that you love and make sure you bring that to the attention of whether it's your decorator, your coordinator, or your photographer, and let us have the opportunity to approach that publication and see if we can't get you published.